Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be reviewing, discussing, breaking down Hawkeye episode 3. So spoiler warning before we begin, let's jump straight into it. So of course we know last week we had episode 1 and 2. I kinda reviewed them fairly quickly because I was busy last week, so this week I'll take the time just before we begin to just go over the main things from the first two episodes, main characters and points that we got. So firstly is this image here where you could see all the comic book counterparts, the live action versions of the characters we got so far in episode 1 and 2. And as you could see, we have Swordmaster, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Echo, Lucky the Dog, same as the comics. And now we'll look at this other picture here where we could see certain panels from the comic that was present in episode 1 and 2 here, like Kate holding pizza on her head and also Kate fencing. So now let's jump straight into episode 3. So episode 3 starts off with essentially a flashback, and it's Echo's flashback. And for those of you who don't know about Echo, Echo has, I believe it's called photographic reflexes. So any move or anything she sees someone does, she can copy it and do it back exactly, and that's where she got her name Echo. Also, she shares this ability with one other person in the MCU, which is Taskmaster, same Taskmaster from Black Widow. However, we're talking about the comic book Taskmaster here because we don't know what the Black Widow Taskmaster's ability really is because she had on the tech suit. But I digress. So we get a flashback of baby Echo, and of course in the comic she was born deaf, and it seems that she's born deaf here. The only difference here is she has she's an amputee in real life, and they play that in this story as well. So we see her with the prosthetic leg. So now we get baby Echo growing up. We see her in at school. We get quick glimpses of her dad, and they have a little discussion about dragons and if they're real. So there's a nice call to Shang-Chi right there. And then we get seeing that her dad was indeed part of the tracksuit mafia. The next comic book thing, this is the main gang that was after them in episode 1 and 2, and they're here. So we see all this fits her backstory to a T basically from the comics. So there's one thing that was added in this. It's not new to the thing, but it's a tease for what's to come, I believe. And that is when Echo is in the dojo and her dad says he has to leave, we see someone walk up in a black suit and pinch her cheeks, and she smiles. And if you read the comics, you know who to expect here, but of course we're talking spoilers. I already gave the spoiler alert. So that is a hint at Kingpin, because in the comics Kingpin is her adopted father. So hints that Kingpin is there in the MCU. Rumor is it would be Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin coming back. However, Marvel is going to make him more comic book accurate, being bigger in size. We have to wait till episode 4, 5 or 6 to see which one he shows up in. So after getting Echo's flashback, we cut to present time, and we see Clint and Kate are still tied up to the robotic horses that make the noises that kids could ride on when you put in a quarter. So they're on that tied up, and the tracksuit mafia is there, and Echo comes out to meet them, and essentially she has a conversation with Clint about who Ronin is, why Kate had on the Ronin costume. She kind of flips out at Ronin, and Kate wearing the Ronin costume, and begins to choke her. And we know, of course, this is because Ronin killed her dad. I say killed her dad because Hawkeye did kill people as Ronin, but we're not sure yet if it was actually him. So we have to wait and see as it progresses. But yeah, this has a good back and forth, and this leads to Hawkeye or Clint breaking out. And when he does break out, he he goes on a tear beating up some of the guys in there, and he gets back his bow and arrow, and he frees Kate, and they kind of fight with Echo a bit, and Echo destroys Clint's hearing aid, kind of putting him at a disadvantage here, because she mentioned that it makes him weak. We then get them escaping, and we get what took up most of the episode, which is a car chase scene. So the dynamic in this is Clint is the driver, Kate is the shooter, and because Clint is missing his hearing aid, they can't communicate that well. So it's pretty funny, but it's pretty cool. We get to see a bunch of trick arrows in this while the chase is going on. So some of the arrows that we see what seems to be a putty arrow that lets out a purple ooze kind of substance. We see a bomb arrow. We see an arrow that shoots forward, and when it hits an object, it shoots out different things like grabbers, and it grabs onto stuff and pulls it towards the arrow. We see acid arrows, 2 acid arrows actually. We see what seems to be a sleeping gas or a smoke bomb type arrow with purple mist coming out of it. We get a USB arrow which was pretty funny at that scene with the USB arrow. And last but not least, we get the most important arrow so far that we haven't seen, and it is a PIM arrow using PIM particles, and he uses it in conjunction with another arrow that he has Kate fire, and he hits that arrow and makes it big. So that was pretty cool to see. And there's one other arrow, the grappling arrow, which we've seen before in the Avengers movies and all of that, so that wasn't a new one compared to the rest. But essentially the chase scene takes up most of the episode, running from the tracksuit mafia, but Clint and Kate manage to get away. They go on a subway after they jump off a bridge to escape. And again, I'm giving as little details not to spoil too heavy, so you can go and enjoy the episode still without getting spoiled on every single detail. But the chase scene was pretty good. I enjoyed it, the dynamic between both of them. We then next head to after that, where on the train, of course, they can't communicate because again, Clint isn't hearing well, and Kate is talking about walking the dog, and Clint is speaking about something else, and then after she's like, what? And then after she finishes speaking, he's like, we should name the dog and walk the dog. He basically repeats what she said. So good banter between the two of them. They then go home to Kate's aunt's place where she's been staying, and we get a glimpse at Lucky the dog, which is pretty cool. Pizza dog is pretty cool. But in this scene, this was kind of a heartbreaking scene, and that was because while there, Clint's son calls him on the phone, and because he doesn't have the hearing aid, he can't hear what his son is saying. So Kate has to write down what his son is saying for him to be able to respond. That feels right in the feels. But that was a touching moment. They then go to get Clint's hearing aid fixed. They do that, and in fixing the hearing aid, they then decide that, maybe we should get some more information on these guys. So they go to Kate's parents' home, her mom's home, to try to hack into their security system to get information on these people. And while doing that, we cut away just a bit to Echo, and we see Echo having a back and forth with the interpreter, and she wants to catch them for being running and killing her dad, but the interpreter is kind of worried that she was being a bit too serious. She's taking it too far, and she pulls the rank card on him and asks him who's in charge here. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But we then cut back to them inside Kate's apartment, well, her parents, her mom's apartment, and we see they're walking around. She gets to the computer, she's locked out of the computer, probably entered the password wrong too many times, and this is where that USB arrow probably would have come in super handy right about now. But yeah, Clint seems like he sees or hears something and goes walking, and he walks, and behind the corner of where he walks up to, there is Swordmaster holding Ronin's sword to his neck, and the episode ends there. So that is basically the episode. There's one more thing, and that is a reference to Hawkeye's comic book costume, which I'll throw up here. And during the episode, there's the scene where Kate and Clint, after they fix his hair and they're eating in a diner, and she tells him he should have a costume as branded as terrible, and she draws a costume for him, and it's essentially this costume is what she draws. It's his comic book accurate costume here, but he says nah, his wife would leave him if he wears that. But yeah, we then basically get the end of the episode, and we're left in mystery as to what happens next. So we have 3 episodes left. I believe it was rumored that Vincent D'Onofrio is coming back as Kingpin, and he should make appearances in the last 3 episodes, if not 3 then the last 2. So we have to wait on that to see. Of course, I don't think Hawkeye is going to get his comic book costume in this, because I don't think it would fit the tone. Also, Swordmaster, for those of you who don't know, the guy who's trying to be Kate's stepdad at the moment is Swordmaster, and in the comics he was a bad guy at first, and then he turned into a good guy and joined the Avengers. So I'm thinking they may follow that route and have him turn into a good guy later on. So we have to wait and see. But I'm most excited to see Echo use her abilities, her photo reflexes. I'm interested to see how they play that up. I'm interested to see how they factor Kingpin into this story, because again, we know it's her adopted father from the comics, but what role would he play in this? Would he be the big street level villain for the Avengers going forward? Or would he just be like a villain for the series? Because we know Echo is getting her own series. Rumors Daredevil should be getting a series soon. She-Hulk, he's supposed to appear in that, and a bunch of other things. So we have to wait and see how that factors in, what role he's going to play going forward if he is in here. And yeah, all in all, this was a pretty good episode. Pretty quick episode. It flew by really fast because again, more car chase. The car chase took up most of the episode, but again, still the Christmas vibe. Had a lot of Christmas music in it. Still getting the Home Alone vibe from it. So I enjoyed this episode a lot. I know a lot of people are not into the Hawkeye thing yet, but I personally enjoy it. I like it. I think it's going good so far. I'm interested to see if Vincent D'Onofrio, if his Kingpin from Daredevil is going to show up. So let's wait and see how that goes. But yeah, all in all, good episode, and I'll see you all next week for next episode.